Hey everybody, welcome back to our final social session for ICTforAg 2020. I am on my sixth, maybe seventh cup of coffee. I've lost count at this point, but I'm joined here with some really awesome guests and some really awesome youth social media folks that have been helping us throughout the conference. So without wasting any more time, I know you all have been listening to my voice and seeing my face so much. I'm going to hand it off to Suzanne, one of our organizing team members who's been working with the youth social media ambassadors. Suzanne, can you tell us more about this?
Hi, thanks, Jamila. Yes, so the Youth Social Media Ambassador Program, they are a brand new program. We've gotten a group of 62 youths from around the world who are leading efforts to broaden impact and reach for the ICTforAg 2020 conference. And most of this work is being done on Twitter. They are tweeting so much. Quick shout out, please follow this hashtag to see what the YSMA are learning and sharing about.
Love it. Paper in the virtual world.
Totally. So these ambassadors are tweeting a ton about the different sessions, sharing notable quotes, different facts that they're learning, trying to advertise as much as possible. And actually, we have two of our most active youth ambassadors here with us. We have Paul and Dorcas. We brought them on here to first introduce them to all of you and also to highlight the hard work that they are doing. So Dorcas, yeah.
Sorry, just a quick note, Paul's joining us from outside his home in Ghana, and so I think he just dropped off, but we're going to try to get him back. But Dorcas, please introduce yourself and tell us all about your experience so far.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Dorcas Somali from Nigeria. I'm a research and production agronomist from Nigeria. And I applied to be a youth social media ambassador because I love the perspectives youths are bringing to conversations like this. I specifically love the first keynote address with Alpha. I met Alpha during the Big Data CGI event, and it was fantastic. I love how resilient youths are being towards the COVID-19 pandemic and how these digital solutions and technology are being utilized to foster resilience during the COVID-19 pandemic. So there are lots of interesting sessions really, and I think the worst one I have a soft spot for is the gender digital divide, and it was a very interesting session for me because I realized that most of the challenges women are facing in agriculture tending towards sub-Saharan Africa, and how digital solutions are being utilized to solve these problems. So those are my two interesting sessions. Been tweeting all day using the hashtag ICTforAg 2020 and the YSMA with SDG2. And there's a lot of interaction following these tweets. And I just hope these conversations are sustained. And most importantly, the impact is being felt across the nation and across the continent, across the world globally. And that's really an interesting one for me.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited to also have this opportunity. It's a rare one, and I'm so privileged. So thank you.
No, Dorcas, thank you so much for joining and for making our jobs a lot easier, because you're out there and you're spreading the ICTforAg word across social media, and we couldn't ask for more. I do have another question for you. So I'd be curious to know just what, like we've talked a lot about virtual convenings and having a virtual conference, but I know for a lot of people that actually opens the door to be able to attend and be able to get this information. So has that been the case for you? Like, is this something that your first time kind of joining in this type of a conference environment?
Well, the first time I had an experience with this kind of convention was the Big Data CGI event. And I realized that conversation was being sustained because it's online and there are lots of people who have access to this kind of events, which wouldn't have happened if it happened in person. So I realized that, okay, more people have access to these conferences like this. And we also have access to these keynote speakers and a whole lot of experts in this field, which normally we don't have access to. So the overall mobile platform is also a fantastic one, I must really confess, because I've had access and interaction with a few people who I normally wouldn't have had access to. So it's a fantastic one. It's great, really. It's excellent, and I'm
That's great. I think we've got Paul back online. Paul, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys, but then it's more like I'm having a few challenges on the connectivity,
That's
and
okay.
then also basically,
Go ahead.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you great. And this is the
So
reality of
I'm actually having a few connectivity. Earlier on, I was close, not really in the house, but then I'm close to the farm area. So couple of activity going on the farm. So basically that. But just to hear about probably one of the exciting and then a few challenges in my name is Paula Chu, and I have been working with Footprint Ranger International, and then also African Union Interview for Animal Resource uh, on the project of African youth in the animal resource sector. So for me, it's been an exciting working and then also leveraging on a few of opportunity when it comes to the IC4 Agri and then a few innovation. For me, one of the key things I that I really appreciate is that like Doka said earlier on, this online or the conversation actually broaden the scope of other young people who may not necessarily understand what is the scope is about. And one of the interesting parts about the whole thing is when I heard about the topic on farmer phone and farmer hand, typically one of the reasons is that you go to the farming community, you go to the smallholder farmers, they have the phone, they have those smaller phones, but how do we integrate information and knowledge to them so that they will be able to understand for example, a disease control in their farm? How would they be able to manage some of those information and skill that are really, really available? Those are some of the area I feel like we need to explore more in that sector. And we need to be able to, like I said, we need to constantly build a support system that that are available for information sharing and knowledge for other young people, etc. So for me, it's been an exciting so far. And one of the critical moments where I was really, really the music aspect. Most of the time we go to events, we go to places,
Yeah.
we do not necessarily understand the breakout and then the music aspect when it comes to
Yeah.
how do we interpret the music aspect to the agri space.
Yeah.
For example, I keep on saying that these are the area where we can explore more, where we have agri entertainment. How do we communicate solution in the agri space to the entertainment people? How do we manage to have fun in the farm? Those are some of the area I feel like we need to be exploring more when it comes to agro-tourism, agro-innovative, and all those stuff. We must not actually focus much more on the finance aspect, but like we could easily explore. And
Mhm.
one of the funny things now when I was happy when the COVID pop up, like I shared earlier on,
Yeah.
I was not having music as part of my timetable at the workplace or wherever it is. But when the COVID came, I started talking to my friends, and my colleague was like, Paul, you need to have this music entertainment or music something on your timetable, on your schedule. So I have put it up, and then it makes me so
That's
effective.
great.
Even if even if I'm working from home, I could just say that, oh, this is a time for music. So all what I do is that just grab a music, play music, just listen to anything, and then when it comes to that time,
Yeah.
there's nothing like laptop, there's nothing like anything again. It's more like entertainment that allow you to they generate a few information. So for me, I think is a new area we can also all follow up, and then a few aspects when it comes. I have a few challenges when it comes to the the technology, the ICC about.
Yeah. Well, Paul, what I'm hearing here is we've got an innovator in the agri-entertainment world coming out of Ghana. So very excited about that one. Paul, I'm not sure if you can hear us, but we are headed in.
Especially our rural farmers. Every innovator is talking about, oh, this is very effective, this affordability to our rural people.
Mm-hmm.
If those innovations are for us, for the rural people, I mean, they will say it's low key, it's affordable. But how affordable some of these things are for us? So for me, I think it's a way forward. We have to just build upon the initial system and keep on preaching the knowledge, the skill, the information, and then the capacity that we needed. So for me, it's the way forward. Yeah.
Great, thank you, Dorcas and Paul. It's so phenomenal to be able to hear from youth and be able to hear about what you all are thinking about and where you see agriculture and digital agriculture needing to go. I think that is the key conversations that we want to keep having, and then you all are the future that'll guide us into that path. We're out of time on our live session. I know, Suzanne, we had some fun little snippets, but we'll get to it. The audience can't get rid of me just yet. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Dorcas and Paul, for being phenomenal ambassadors of our youth social media program. Thank you, Suzanne, for being the fearless leader in carrying that forward. Now we're gonna head into our social hour, and right after that, we'll have our final keynote for the day. So please stay tuned. We are in the home stretch of our sessions, and we're just so happy to be able to share this with a global community. Thanks, and head to social hour now.
Thanks, everyone.
Welcome to our social session on rice. Rice is a small grain with a big impact. We hope you're going to enjoy learning about rice as much as we did making it.
Did you know rice is a staple food for more than half of humanity, over 3 billion people around the world. Over 1 billion people depend on rice production as a major source of income. In just Asia alone, there are over 200 million rice farms that produce 90% of all rice. Rice comes in many colors, shapes, and sizes, from brown rice to white rice and long grain rice to short grain rice. There are over 40,000 kinds of rice that vary in grain length, thickness, color, form, and aromas. Jasmine rice, for example, is named after jasmine flowers for its sweet and floral fragrance. Rice around the world. How do you eat your rice? In Latin America, rice is the key ingredient in arroz con leche de cajeta. The sweet dish is milky caramel rice pudding that can be served hot or cold. In South India, parboiled rice is fermented and ground with lentils to make idli. The idli batter is then steamed into fluffy rice cakes and enjoyed with savory chutneys and sambar. In other cultures, rice can be used to make beverages. In Korea and Japan, rice is fermented into rice wine. Across Asia, brown rice is also used in nutritious plant-based rice milks. Mahmar is a sweetened rice dish from the Middle East that is topped with almonds and raisins. Every country and culture has their own. In Egypt, we call it ali. Rice can be also turned into rice flour, which many cultures use to make flatbreads or even noodles. Pho, the national dish of Vietnam, is a traditional rice noodle soup made with rich broth. Across countries and cultures, everyone has their own traditions when it comes to rice. Let's see how some of our speakers and attendees prepared their favorite rice dishes.
My favorite rice dish is arroz con pollo. And the reason why it's my favorite dish is because my husband, who is from Costa Rica, is the best chef. So I'm very lucky that I have someone who is so talented in the kitchen because I really don't like to cook.
Coming from South Korea, rice is our staple. And growing up, I've had, I guess, occasionally 3 meals of rice. And actually, fun fact, in Korea, when you say, have you eaten? It actually, at the same time, means, have you eaten rice? Another fun fact is, I'm working in Madagascar, and I am so surprised by per capita rice intake in terms of calorie in Madagascar is #1 in the world. And I always thought and was a little bit proud of Korea being very high in calorie intake. But over the last 2 decades, it has dramatically fall down. And then we are not even close Madagascar level. But yeah, rice is the best.
Okay, we like to cook rice in our multi-use pressure cooker. It's super fast and makes perfect rice every time. We usually make white rice, so we can put a variety of different sauces over it.
Cook my rice, not myself, but my amazing rice cooker. Korean brand.
My favorite rice dish is pretty much, is a symbol of the place I come from, Hyderabad. So Hyderabad is known for its vegetable dum biryani. I being a vegetarian, I also like although the chicken biryani and the mutton biryani are like the very famous dishes, I do enjoy eating the vegetable dum biryani as well.
My favorite meal from the staple crops, I would say that if you know Ghana, you must know about our jollof rice. So jollof rice is a fan favorite across West Africa, but Ghana reigns with the jollof, with a special jollof. And that's because the secret to our sweet jollof is in the tomato sauce. So jollof for us is a 2-day cooking process almost, because you have to get your tomato sauce right. And this is your favorite tomato sauce. It doesn't matter if you're vegetarian, if you prefer meat or prefer chicken, whichever, you just make your favorite tomato sauce with that. And then basically the trick to it is that you cook the rice through the tomato sauce. So you can go online and look at the various jollof training sessions, but an awesome plate of jollof, meat-filled jollof for me with a lovely Ghana salad also is the way to go for a great meal.
My favorite rice dish is Finnish pastry called karjalanpiirakka, which is a Karelian pie. Karelia is a part of Finland close to Russia. And it is a rice pudding inside of a thin rye crust, and it is my all-time favorite food. And it seems very strange unless you've eaten it, but it is like the soul food of Finland.
Yes, I prefer steamed white rice. Lately, we've been making our own sushi, and so I learned that it's a little difficult to find short grain rice, sushi rice. I'm actually, to be honest, not sure where short grain sushi rice is grown, so I'm going to have to research that. Maybe I can find that in the FAO global database. And then for staple food dishes, I'm not sure the US has necessarily a staple dish we're really famous for, but I just love rice and beans, like Spanish rice and refried beans. It's always a go-to.
My favorite rice dishes is Kichuri. Kichuri is a traditional Bangladeshi rice porridge. A lot of Kichuris are very watery, almost like a stew, but some other types of Kichuri are very dry, more closer to fried rice. Kichuri is a very spicy dish in Bangladesh, and it's actually considered a rainy day specialty. So whenever it rains, people like to have Kichuri. Sometimes people like to have it with fish or with beef stew or beef curry. Kichuri at my house is usually done a little drier. I'd love to show you guys how I make Kichuri at home. How long was that? This is the Kichuri my mom usually makes. So for the Kichuri, what we do is we start off by soaking some lentils, and if you look in here, you can see the lentils kind of mixed in with the rice. Because of the turmeric, it's a little harder to see, but what you do is you get one pot, you soak your rice, and you soak your lentils with it. What we usually do is do about 1 cup of lentils to 3 cups of rice. So it ends up being about 50-50%. You slow cook this with some water on the stove for a few hours, and you can put in all of your spices with the rice and the water. We use some turmeric, some other spices like cardamom, sometimes a little bit of cinnamon even, and then of course salt. And then we also like to cut up some cilantro and just sprinkle that on top. After the kichuri is done, what I like to do is sprinkle a little bit of chili powder, just so we get it extra spicy. And then it's good to go. If you couldn't tell, we're desi and we really love our spices. And kichuri is just so versatile, like, you know, I'll just have it for breakfast, sometimes lunch and dinner in the same day. It's probably not the best for me, but spices do help you with your health and maintain good brain function, or so I've read. So I'm not going to discount these spices. Let's take a look at the final product when the kichuri is all done, and also some of the dishes we like to have it with. I'm having my kichuri with some chicken keema curry, which was stir-fried a little bit with some vegetables. I'm also having some goat curry with my kichuri today. Usually my favorite thing to have with kichuri is fried hilsa fish, which is the national fish of Bangladesh, but it is a little harder to get when you're in the United States. But when you're here, a goat curry and some chicken curry will do just as well.
So my favorite dish is pilau rice, which is basically rice with spices, pilau masala being the key ingredient. I also do not like washing rice. In fact, there have been many times when I've wanted to cook rice and had to stop halfway through because after the third rinse, I was done and I was tired. But yeah, my favorite type of dish is pilau rice. And in fact, when I was learning how to cook, it was one of the hardest dishes to cook for myself. So once I was able to manage making that dish, I really felt like I was ready for the cooking shows. I was really just a chef.
My favorite rice dish is pollo arvejado. It's made with white jasmine rice. It's a Chilean dish. It has chicken, peas, carrots, and onions, and lots of garlic. And it is just like the homiest dish. It just tastes like home. It's so easy to make. My grandma, who was a very tough person, made it all the time, and I feel like that's how she showed her love, was through this dish. So every time I take a bite of pollo arvejado rice, which is, it has to be wet, it's like nice and wet, and it tastes like chicken soup every time you take a bite of the rice by itself. And it's amazing. It's really delicious. The best thing about pollo arvejado is when there's just like a little bit of rice left at the very end, and it's so wet, and you go ahead and you like eat it all up from the plate. And highly recommend it. If you've never tried pollo arvejado, you can find it online. Look for the recipe. And yeah.
Yeah, so my favorite rice dish is rice pilaf. It's made with a lot of coastal spices, and it's usually a special meal and taken with a side of beef stew and some kachumbari, or what we call our salad. And you prepare it on the stove top, but then you do the frying on the stove top and then put it in the oven to bake a little bit.
So a lot like my father, wait, am I off mute? I am, sorry, I'll start over.
Go ahead.
So a lot like my father, I eat rice for almost every meal, lunch and dinner, and sometimes breakfast. The way that I make my rice is on the stovetop. When I moved out of my parents' house, I realized that I had never actually made rice without a rice cooker. And so it took some time to figure out how to do it properly, but I learned how to wash my rice properly and to use the, what I'll call the finger tool, or the finger method, to figure out how much water to put in the rice, which is basically just measuring up to the first line on your finger to figure out how much water should be over the rice before cooking it. I tried it once and it comes out perfect every single time. So I highly recommend it if you haven't used it before. As far as my favorite rice dish, being Ghanaian, my favorite rice dish is jollof. I love the way that my mom makes it. People put in different things, but she puts in little cubes of beef, which is just delicious. And I know that jollof is a very contentious subject in West Africa. There are countries that all have their own type of jollof dish that they say is the best. But I think that the best rice dish across all of West Africa is Senegal's chebujen, and I stand by that no matter what.
It's amazing how many ways there are to make rice. Besides cooking, there are a lot of other uses for rice as well. Let's take a look.
Since ancient times, rice paper has been used for writing, calligraphy, painting, and other traditional forms in China and Japan. Rice water, the starchy water left over from soaking or cooking rice, is thought to have purifying and cleansing properties for skin and hair. Even today, rice water is an essential part of many beauty products and self-care routines. The husks from rice have many practical uses, from fuel and food for livestock to bedding, roofing, and building material. In fact, the Great Wall of China was built with sticky rice porridge that was used as mortar between bricks. Rice has so many surprising and creative uses, but how do we get our rice? How is rice made? Before rice can be planted, farmers must carefully select high-quality seeds that are suited to their farmland. Good quality seeds can improve the health and quantity of rice produced. Rice is very sensitive to water levels and absorbs water rather quickly. In order to make sure the rice receives enough water to flourish, rice is grown in partially flooded fields called rice paddies. To begin the growing process, rice paddies often need to be flooded. To help with the flooding process, many rice farmers in Asia have terraced their rice paddies on mountainsides and hills. Because of flooding, rice requires relatively less fertilization when compared to other crops. Flooding the rice has the additional benefit of nourishing the plants. The water levels in the fields allow the soil in the paddies to better retain nutrients to nourish the crops. Rice harvesting and preparation is a multi-step process to minimize damage to the crop. Farmers begin by draining the paddy and then harvesting the plants. Afterwards, the harvested plants are laid out to dry. While rice can be harvested using machines like the one pictured here, in many parts of the developing world, this process is still done by hand. Once dry, the rice is threshed to separate the grain from the stalk and then dry it again. At the end of this process, the long stalks that are harvested turn into the grains that we are used to seeing. Now that we've seen the process, let's hear more about the process from the people who actually grow the rice.
Because of the unique temperature and climate in Bangladesh, the Bengali agricultural calendar has 6 seasons instead of 4. Since the 7th century, farmers in this region have adhered to these 6 seasons to produce rice, the main staple crop of the country and region. In this village outside of Dhaka, Bangladesh, the farmers are getting ready for the harvest season. Let's hear from one of these farmers.
এ পর্যায়ে আমরা একজন কৃষকের সাথে কথা বলবো, যার কাছে আমার প্রশ্ন থাকবে যে ধান লাগাতে আসলে কতদিন সময় লাগে?
ধান বীজ রোপণ করাতে 4 মাস পর্যন্ত সময় লাগে,
মানে মোট 120 দিন। এখন কি মৌসুম চলছে? আমন মৌসুম চলছে। আপনি কয় মাস পরে এই ফসলটা তুলতে যাচ্ছেন?
দীর্ঘ মনে করো 3.5 থেকে 4 মাসের ভিতরেই আমন এসে যায়।
তো আপনি এই চাল, ধান থেকে যে চাল হবে, এই চাল দিয়ে কি রান্না করতে পছন্দ করবেন? কোনটা আপনি খেতে পছন্দ করবেন? ভাত, খিচুড়ি, নাকি পান্তা, নাকি পিঠা?
ভাত আর পিঠা,
এই দুইটা খুব ভালোবাসবেন। আচ্ছা, আপনাকে অশেষ ধন্যবাদ, ভালো থাকবেন।
Thanks to the hard work of farmers, rice reaches billions of people around the world. But what you do with the rice is up to you. Let's hear from more of our conference speakers and attendees about how they prepare their rice.
The dheki has been an important agricultural tool in Bangladesh. At one point, a dheki could be found in every village and almost every single household. But what is a dheki, and what role does it play in modern-day agricultural life?
ঢেকি বাংলাদেশের ইতিহাস ঐতিহ্য বহন করে, বাংলাদেশের ইতিহাস এবং সমৃদ্ধির সাক্ষী। এই ঢেকি বর্তমানে জাদুঘরে যাওয়ার অপেক্ষায় আছে, কারণ এই ঢেকি বর্তমানে আর গ্রামাঞ্চলগুলোতেও ব্যবহার হচ্ছে না। এখন ব্যবহার হচ্ছে যেগুলো যেগুলোকে বলে হচ্ছে ধান ভাঙার মেশিন, সেই ধান ভাঙার মেশিনে বিভিন্ন কাজ করে। তবে এই ইতিহাস ঐতিহ্যকে ধারণ করে এখনো পর্যন্ত বেশ কিছু বাড়িতে এই ঢেকি দিয়ে কাজ হয়। তো এই ঢেকি দিয়ে মূলত কি কি কাজ হয়? ধান বানা হয়, চাউল গুঁড়া করা হয় এবং এখান থেকে গম বানানো হয়, এরকম বিভিন্ন কাজ হয়। এই ঢেকিগুলো গ্রামাঞ্চলের অনেক বাড়িতে ছিল, এক সময় প্রচুর ছিল, কিন্তু বর্তমানে এখন সেগুলো একদম বিলুপ্তির পথে। একদম বিলুপ্তির পথে বলতে অনেক বাড়িতে এখন ঢেকি নেই, হয়তোবা পুরো গ্রামাঞ্চল ঘুরে দুই একটা বাড়িতেই এই ঢেকির দেখা মেলে।
My favorite rice dish is my mother's chicken biryani. I'm still trying to perfect my version of it, but I always try to do the rice slightly undercooked before I mix it with the chicken, so that it's the perfect kind of tenderness.
I'm from southern part of China, and we eat rice every day. And we eat rice in through different cooking styles. We eat steamed rice. We eat fried rice. We put rice in the water to make it a soup, a rice soup. So we also, the part I'm from also are famous of spicy food. So we also eat rice with pepper, and it's very delicious.
I grew up eating basmati rice. I'll never forget my mom calling me downstairs to help her wash rice to cook dinner. It was a really tedious task, and I never got the water clear enough, and she always really rinsed it. But now washing rice always reminds me of home, and teaching my friends that yes, you do in fact have to wash your rice is always a joyous experience. And then my favorite rice dish has to be my dad's kolbi palau. It's a mixture of my grandma's recipe and one of my great aunt's recipes from the other side of the family. Neither of them know that he's combined the two recipes to make his, but it's my favorite. That's a real story, and it's a secret, but I really doubt that either of those two people will be present to watch this.
I'm telling.
It's like it would like cause family beef.
If you attended our earlier session on beverages, you might have heard of rice milk. Rice milk is a nutritious plant-based milk that you can easily make at home using just rice, water, and a natural sweetener like honey. To start with, what you will need to do is cook rice. When you're cooking the rice, you shouldn't salt it, otherwise your rice milk will get salty. But any cooked, unsweetened rice will do. You can add a little bit of extra water so the rice has more water and blends more easily. Once you have your rice, you can blend your rice at a ratio of 1:2 for rice to water. I like to add 1 cup of rice to every 2 cups of water. Rice is also gluten-free, so this is a great option for people who might have dietary restrictions. It's also something you can easily make with leftover rice at home. After putting in my 1 cup of rice, I put in the water. This is really fun watching the rice kind of move around as you add the water. I'm using honey to sweeten my rice milk, but you can use other natural sweeteners like dates or sugar or anything you have at home. I'm adding a little bit extra sugar because I like my rice milk sweet. When I was younger, my grandmother would make us rice milk when I didn't want to have rice for lunch or dinner. It's a fun way to get the nutrients and carbohydrates of rice without feeling like you're eating dinner or a whole meal. Once you've got your rice, your water, and your sweetener, you can blend. like to blend mine twice just to make sure that all the rice is thoroughly mixed. For the final step, you'll want to filter your rice through a strainer before you drink it. I'm just using a regular coffee strainer in my tea glass. Rice milk is a great way to start the day, or even if you're just looking for a light snack. You can even use rice milk to make tea or other beverages. It's a great alternative to regular milk. It's also very, very filling.
Yeah, my favorite rice dish is probably a lentil dal with rice on the side. And as far as preparation, it's pretty simple. Just cook it on the stovetop. The rice with the dal to me is the most soothing. It's soothing to my stomach and to my soul.
Food similar to Marissa, I don't know if there's a specific local. So I was trying to think of local to Rhode Island, but also kind of thinking of rice. And I lived in Spain, and my favorite rice dish would definitely be paella. And for paella, like I actually have a paellero, a Spanish paella cooker, so I really enjoy cooking it for all of my friends. And it's awesome because it's super easy. It includes a lot of just like local fresh ingredients like chicken, rice, tomatoes, lima beans, green beans, and it's all just put together with saffron. It's just amazing.
My favorite rice cooker. My favorite washing rice secret is the like when you hold the bowl at an angle because you get lazy and you just let the water run through it. My mom actually taught me that within the last like year or two. Like once you've like washed it like 2 or 3 times and you're kind of lazy, she does this thing where she just like tilts the bowl at an angle and then the water hits it and it just cycles out the water and you can actually like watch it get clearer. It's so effective. Everyone try that one.
We're definitely using that clip in our video.
Can I at least do it better?
No, I think that was great.
No, it's so fun. And also so fun to have us all like watching and listening intently to you explain it.
I also wanted you guys to know that part of the reason that I hadn't sent in my videos was I was really trying to get a video of me I wanted to tell you this earlier, of me in the coffee shop making coffee. And I just didn't have any time to go in.
I got you. Don't worry. We have an espresso machine at my house, so I'll be doing that. We actually have for one of my friends back home, he wrote a song called the Brunch Song, and a whole chorus part of that is like just naming all these different coffees, and then he asked like, how do you milk an oat? And so we made a music video for his birthday on that part, and I was
okay. I love rice. Yeah, I have to say I love it. Morning, lunch, and dinners. How to prepare my rice? So traditionally, what we do here in Costa Rica, or at least how my mother used to prepare it, is like first you fry garlic and maybe onions and what do you call it, cilantro. First you fry it and then in oil. Then at the same time as frying, you get your rice, maybe a cup, a measure, maybe even if it's a glass, it's just a measurement, okay, of it. Then you wash it, and then you put on the frying onions and this, and then you fry the rice for maybe 1 minute. You fry it, and then you add 1.5 portion of the same measurement of the rice of water. So for example, there's 1 cup. There's 1.5 cups of water. Then it boils. Then when the water reach the rice, you put it in low heat, and then you cover it, and then you don't open again. You are not supposed to open it again until it's ready. And that is the traditional way. I love to prepare rice like that. Right now I have a rice cooker, so it's like you just pour the water and it's easier, you know. Rice here in Costa Rica is one of the main crops, I would say. Though interesting, we don't produce much of our rice we imported. But we have rice and beans, for example. There are two kinds of rice and beans in Costa Rica. We have rice with beans, that is more like in most of the country, where we mix them together with spices, and then that is for breakfast. You can have a lunch, you can have a dinner. We also have rice and beans in English. That is a different way of cooking rice with beans, but they add cocoa milk. So it's a rice and beans with cocoa milk, which is delicious. This is particularly in the Caribbean. So yeah, I love rice. Now that I'm going on to the gym, my personal trainer said I have to stop eating rice because it's too much rice. So I love rice with tuna, or rice with avocados. For me, rice is the best. Delicious, yeah. Yeah, that's how.
Chez moi, oui, on consomme beaucoup le riz, mais j'aime prendre souvent le riz avec le poisson tilapia du lac Kivu. C'est un très, très bon poisson et actuellement, pour la production locale, on est en train de faire des poissons dans les cages et ça fait du bien. J'aime beaucoup ça.
Since I'm vegetarian actually, so I am preparing my foods by myself. So I am my favorite rice dish is like white rice and maybe a couple of green vegetables.
I am a rice fan. My favorite kinds of rice are either jasmine rice or basmati. Right now we have jasmine rice. This is a product of Thailand. And controversial, I just put it in this rice cooker with water and that does the job. I don't even rinse it, I know. Recently I made rice to add to this vegetable tortilla stew, which is delicious. I'm curious what people's opinions are on cauliflower rice. I made it myself once from scratch and I swear I would never make it again, but I don't mind frozen cauliflower rice. Anyone else? You can stop now.
And for my favorite sort of staple crop food, I'd have to say risotto, in an Italian style. Which one, all different kinds, I'm not sure. Maybe one that has some nice blue cheese and sausage in it with some nice Parmesan.
In this recipe, we'll be looking at another use for rice water. Rice water is a really important beauty ingredient across Asia. Rice water contains a lot of antioxidants which have a purifying and cleansing effect on skin and hair. It's also something very simple that you can make at home with any type of rice. To start our rice water recipe, we're going to get 1 cup of parboiled rice. While I'm using parboiled rice, you can use any kind of rice. You take a cup of rice into a bowl, and then you add water. After adding your rice, add in 2 to 3 cups of water. One of the main ingredients of rice water is actually thyme. Right now, I'll only be soaking my rice milk for about 20 to 30 minutes. But the longer you soak your rice, the more benefit you get out of it. After soaking your rice for about 2 to 4 days, the rice water actually becomes fermented rice water, which contains twice the amount of antioxidants as regular rice water. When you're cooking rice, you usually want to wash your rice and drain the water. But with rice water, you're actually preserving that starchy and nutrient-rich water. The longer you soak your rice, the more nutrients come out of it. For the final step, drain your rice water into a separate container for storage. Rice water can be used immediately or over the next 4 to 5 days. With each passing day, it becomes more concentrated. So you can add in more water to kind of dilute it again. This rice water is great for hair and skin. You can use this rice water as a toner after washing your face. You can also wash it off after leaving it on for a few minutes on your skin. Another use of this is as a hair mask. After shampooing your hair, gently massage the rice water into your scalp. Rinse after 20 to 30 minutes. Rice water is great and it's an amazing beauty product you can make at home. When you have a chance, try to make some rice water yourself.
Exactly. And then to the staple crop, of course, staple food is, of course, jollof rice. I think among the interns, we had a discussion on it some time ago, and I made mention of jollof rice. Most of them are like looking at me, wondering, what is jollof rice? You guys need to test it, man. You guys need to find out how it tastes like. Okay, so jollof rice is.
So my family is South Asian, so we eat rice with everything, and I cook it on the stove. 20 minutes, although it's hit or miss, and honestly, I'm thinking about investing in a rice cooker.
Thank you to everyone who joined our session. As you wait for the next session to begin, comment in the chat below your favorite rice dish, recipe, or fun fact.
Because I think ICTforAg is one discipline or one area which is pretty much is evolving, right? So this is a science that's being made as we speak, and I feel very privileged that we as a community of people are actually defining the space. We are kind of riding the cusp, and we are kind of creating a lot of the standards, and we are laying down the path of how this area is eventually going to evolve and start impacting smallholder farmers in particular in a very big way, and thus help the world at large address a number of the sustainable development goals.
At the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, ICT4Ag is a key part of our overall strategy. We have a team called Digital Farmer Services, and we see digital as a way to accelerate inclusive agricultural transformation. We focus on different aspects of the digital farmer services spectrum, from ag advisory to insurance, to finance, market linkages. We also look at the broader digital agriculture ecosystem, which I think is an important part of why we're here at this conference, is to have a coordinated approach to how do we scale these systems, how do we reach the millions of farmers that we need to reach through digital.
For us, we think to use the ICT will help us also to help FAO to provide the better nutrition, better productivity, a better environment, and a better living standard for smallholder farmers and family farmers, and also to better provide the technical support to FAO's members.
So for the World Bank, what ICT4Ag represents is really charting the course for the next years of our engagement with our clients, promoting digital methodologies and also disruptive agri-tech innovations, in which we can collaborate with local innovation entrepreneurs, youth, agri-tech startups, all these people who can bring new life, new blood, passion, and innovation in how our food and agriculture system should go in the future. So we look forward to connecting with you. We look forward to collaborate with you, and yeah, come and let's change the course of the system together.
Hi, I'm Angela Pashayan. I'm an intern at USAID in the Inclusive Development Division under Meredith Soul. And food security, to me, means when we are able to have food delivered in crisis, in COVID situations or other pandemics, to places that look like this, the informal settlements in Africa.
Resiliencia en la agricultura, creo que la entendí. Creo que ese es un tema de mucha actualidad donde creo que cada día es de más aprendizaje porque creo que nosotros los humanos hemos dañado la naturaleza y creo que ahora la naturaleza está cobrándonos factura. Tenemos que prepararnos mucho para hacer agricultura resiliente. Ese es un tema de mucha actualidad.
What does food resilience mean to me? It means that waking up in the morning, I don't have to think about whether I'm looking for food or not. I mean, it's just there. I don't have to think about it. The food is always available. Thank you.
Of not worrying about food. And I really love these kinds of conversations because you see so much creativity in addressing food security around the world and how so many different areas utilize similar strategies, but also very different strategies to really respond to their specific population targets. And I think it's a very sad issue, but also a very beautiful solution-based issue that a lot of people are working towards. I think it's incredible, like coalition of individuals.
Je pense que c'est la capacité d'avoir un accès aux aliments de meilleure qualité et de manière durable. Ça, je pense que ça, c'est la sécurité alimentaire. Avoir accès aux aliments de meilleure qualité, n'est-ce pas, et de manière durable. Je pense que c'est ça ma compréhension de la sécurité alimentaire. Merci.
This April, we launched the USA Digital Strategy, which applies to all of USA programs and sectors and regions around the world, including agriculture. So when you have a chance, please go check out the USA Digital Strategy.
And please remember to go to the topic-specific community discussion boards and start your topic or engage with others.
Don't forget, you can also reach out to people one-on-one using the direct message function.
Hi, everybody. Don't forget that we have session chats where you can post your questions and communicate and connect with other participants throughout the day.